Hey folks, FalconePunch 55 here, and this week Hearthhead is all about Uther and his friend Lady all about the Paladins. As a special treat this week, Dylan and I are teaming up in that his article is going to be about Paladins through time and how the different expansions compare to one another, and my video is going to be about Paladins through time and how the archetypes have been changing. So make sure when you're done watching this video, you go and give his article a read, or you can pause the video now and go and read that then, and just make sure you've watched both for the full experience. And as you can see, we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to jump straight into it. In the beginning, Paladin was pretty much mostly a control class. It had a few low-cost minions, but the fact that it could spawn infinite 1-1 recruits meant that it was a deck that was full of value. Paladins were able to play the long value game, using cards like Tyrion and Lay on Hands as its class flavor, but sometimes also cards like Ysera and Ragnaros to help dominate the late game. That's not to say the earlier minions were bad. Ador Peacekeeper was great for keeping threats at bay, and like Humility, comboed well with Stampeding Kodo. True Silver Champion and Consecration, paired with Equality, are some of the best 4-drops we've ever seen in Hearthstone. That's right, Paladins were particularly good at controlling the board. They were a strong deck, but not really strong enough for the meta, even back then. iHearthU, back then, a popular website, posted in its 9th meta report that Paladin was the weakest class in Hearthstone. Ouch. Of course, everything would soon change with the release of Naxxramas. Well, not really. Back then, classes only actually got one card each, and Paladins was Avenge. Avenge and any other Paladin secret just wasn't really worth playing in Constructed. Loatheb and Sludgebelcher were great for Paladin, but also great for every other class, and Kel'Thuzad did see some play, but for the most part, Paladin didn't actually improve much with the release of Naxxramas. Goblins vs Gnomes was a whole other story, introducing some of the strongest cards in Hearthstone that we've ever seen. These guys all made waves and immediately hurled mid-range Paladin to top of the meta, with a list that actually got me to rank 14 Legend back in early 2015. Minibot and Muster for Battle in particularly created such a strong early curve that Paladin was able to keep up with most other classes in the early game, and also pack a punch later down the line with Quartermaster for some surprise burst. A problem that Paladin always did face was a weakness to Rogue, and with the new long-lasting rise of Oil Rogue, also being a top tier deck, its place in the top of the meta game was never going to be secure for too long. Blackrock Mountain brought Paladin 2 cards, neither of which really came into their own just yet. While Solemn Vigil would eventually be incredibly useful, for now it was completely unplayed. Blackrock Mountain also saw the release of Emperor Thaurissan, a card which has not actually ever been a major part of any Paladin deck, and also Grim Patron Warrior, a deck that was very favoured against, well, everything, but particularly so with Paladin. There was a build of Aggro Paladin and also Zoo Paladin that had started making the rounds, utilising Divine Favour, sometimes Jeeves, Defender of Argus, and the more aggressive cards to fit in a Paladin deck. Cockhammer and Muster for Battle were so strong and versatile, but it was never quite one of the top decks. But the Grand Tournament was soon going to appear and change everything. Most of the cards were trash. Yes, Murloc Knight was a card that was played for a little while, but not even Blizzard realised how strong Mysterious Challenger would be. Suddenly, a Christmas tree of secrets regularly appeared on the board as Revenge, Noble Sacrifice, Redemption created a very awkward mess of interactions which at first were very difficult for players to wrap their heads around. Even when players started to get used to the interactions, Secret Paladin was around for a very long time. And League of Explorers actually made the deck even stronger by introducing Keeper of Alderman. Amazing for removal and buffing minions. Suddenly Blessing of Kings was mainstream in these decks as well. Secret Paladin would last right up until Standard format hit, where sadly the early game strength of Naxxramas and Goblins vs Gnomes was removed, leaving them with no archetype still standing. Except one. You didn't really think I'd forgotten about the Murlocs, did you? League of Explorers also brought us Anything Can Happen, and the start of what would be a brand new Paladin control combo-ish deck. It was strong, but made stronger by Whispers of the Old Gods, which did introduce N'Zoth, a card which works very nicely with Tyrion and other mid-game death rattles, but ultimately it's Murloc Paladin that stands the test of time, buffed by the addition of Paladin's first actually decent extra legendary, Ragnaros Lightlord, and once more by Ivory Knight in One Night at Karazhan. N'Zoth Paladin was a hit for a while, but ultimately fell flat when compared to N'Zoth Warrior, and as far as aggressive Paladins go, Paladin lost too many early threats, leaving it pretty much exclusively a control class. But Mean Streets of Gadgetzan is Paladin's best chance yet at a fresh start. With another awesome looking legendary and a fresh mechanic brought forward by the Grimy Goons, there is definite potential in a new, more aggressive Paladin, and also a new build up the hand and buff type of deck. Honestly, I think Paladin is now in the best position it's ever been to really reach out there and become something new altogether, and that is something that has me very, very excited. What are your thoughts on Paladin? Where does it stand for you in terms of favorite or least favorite classes? Which has been your favorite Paladin archetype over time? Please let me know in the comments. I do read all of the comments and reply to them, so I'd love to interact with some of you guys. Also, please do like the video if you enjoyed it. If people are enjoying these videos, then I will make more of these for other classes. And make sure you go and check out Hearthhead. Once again, make sure you read Dylan's article. It's you know, part of a pair with this video, so if you've watched the video but not read the article, you've not done it right. And I will, of course, catch you again next week.